Hello, 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 and welcome back to Coach's Corner. It is a Monday. It is August the 12th, and we have returned with a brand new show. Trailed off at the end of last week, but that's okay. We get in our previews here before the season starts. We had a lot of preseason action. We got some rookie quarterbacks that we'll get into, talk about their performances, because that's really what the preseason is about nowadays. It's not about whether your team's good or not, because the starters never play. But regardless, we have that. We have the Olympics finishing up with a certain team getting the gold. But we start where we were leaving off last week, and that is continuing the division preview series. And that is heading over to the AFC East. It is our last AFC division. And I'm glad I saved this for Monday's show because we did have some news from a team in this division regarding a pass rusher who's expecting a big time payday, which could be deserved, could be not deserved. But a weird request happened today, and we will get to that team in a moment here. But we start off, I don't know if you've noticed, but the way I've structured this is typically I'll try and start with the worst team or the team that I don't really have expectations for, and we go to the more, I'd say, prominent teams in the national media's eyes or just the general playoff vibes. And we're going to get a guest appearance from Layla here and there because the door is open in my room. So don't mind her. She will be running in and out of the frame. But like I said, we start off with the team that I think has the least amount of pressure from national media sense, from my personal media sense, the New England Patriots. And it's weird to say because the New England Patriots are a 6-time Super Bowl winning franchise in this decade, or this century, I should say. They've won those 6 Super Bowls. But the Patriots are entering a new era, and obviously that'll take some getting used to. Bill Belichick is not the head coach anymore. They have went for a younger, I'd say more hip, rejuvenated type of coach, and that is his former assistant, Gerard Mayo, former player with the Patriots, Gerard Mayo, former linebacker in the NFL, Gerard Mayo. And so it's interesting to see a former player for the team become the head coach because we did just see it last year with DeMeco Ryans and the Texans. Will that happen for the Patriots with their version of DeMeco Ryans and Gerard Mayo? I could argue they're very similar players, both linebackers, prominent leaders in their team when they played. They take some time and then they come back and end up leading the franchise. But either way, Gerard Mayo is instilling the culture. It's a brand new, I'd say, energy and vibe he's brought to the team. And frankly, I think it's a rejuvenated vibe because, Bill Belichick, all-time great, obviously maybe the maybe not even maybe, but the best coach in history, NFL history. And it felt like it got a little stale towards the end there. And stale is probably a fair word to use here with a coach that was older and kind of was set in his ways and was very culture driven and keeping the New England Patriots as the New England Patriots and not really, I'd say, adapting to the times. And although he did throughout his tenure with Tom Brady and whatnot, it felt like once Brady left and that culture of him, as just a person left, he tried to instill that, defensive first approach, and the offense never really caught back up to where they were with Tom Brady. So I think you can see that it was really a two-headed monster and not just a Bill Belichick-led monster between Brady and Belichick. But we're not here to talk about the past that much. We're here to talk about the now. And like I said, it's a brand new team with Gerard Mayo at the center of it. And, I like what they're building because, I've been a Drake May guy, ever since he was a freshman at UNC. I saw the vision early on. I understood why he was drafted top 3. A lot of people thought he was raw and could fall a little bit further. I never got that sense. I always felt like he was the second best quarterback in this class. And although I acknowledge that he's not ready day one, I think he's set up really well to succeed. And you can just get that Joe Milton BS out of here. I don't care about Joe Milton. Joe Milton doesn't do anything for me. He moves no needle on my, this quarterback's interesting. He doesn't move the needle at all for that meter. Joe Milton belongs in a Burger King, flipping patties and getting ready to, get on the drive-through headset and be like, hey, what's your order? Because Joe Milton is not an NFL caliber quarterback. And I will stand on that. Don't really care what happens. He does not belong in the NFL. But that's a story for a different time. Maybe I think he's just a swell fella. Because I don't think there's any reason for him to get as many opportunities at being a quarterback as he's gotten. Michigan, he flamed out. Tennessee, he kind of really flamed out despite them, winning. They won in spite of him, not because of him last year. And then he somehow finds himself on a team, and I get it. The arm is lively, but when you don't know how to control the gun, I don't know how you can really trust the shooter. So we're not here. It's not the Joe Milton preview. It is the New England Patriots AFC East preview. We keep getting off on these tangents here with this team. I don't know what it is. It's a weird team, but I say all that to say Drake May will be the starter in waiting. But for now, Jacoby Brissett is the starter. Now, I feel bad for Jacoby because it feels like he hasn't gotten that fair shake. But I feel like once Andrew Luck retired and he got that full season as a Colts starter, that was about as good of opportunity as you could get. But he didn't really do anything with it. I mean, it's, it can be debated how it ended, but regardless, he's kind of just always been this guy where I feel like he's that Ryan Fitzpatrick area where you want him to be a starter, but he's just frankly not. You get some good starts out of him, but you take the whole sample size and it's not what you want. But being a mentor and a real leader for this team early on while Drake May, gets his feet under him, kind of figures out that feel of what an NFL team needs as a leader, I think it's good for him because, I know the comparison is super easy between Drake May and Justin Herbert, but I feel like Drake May's a little bit more of an extrovert than Herbert, and so he could be that leader quicker than Herbert was. And, Herbert is kind of a quiet, silent leader type, and he kind of just lets his skills show for it. I think May could be that type of style where, he's not jumping in front of the team, screaming and shouting this, that, and the other, but he will lead by example and he'll grow into his own and become a better player as he matures and develops in this league. But for now, he's going to be on the bench. And when you look at this schedule, you always think is like, where can we plug in this guy who's going to be sitting his first year? And normally you look at bye weeks like, hey, bye week is a week 7. If they're 2-4 heading into the week 7, do they go to the guy or do they just keep rolling with the starter? Well, the issue here is the schedule is not kind to the New England Patriots in a tough division, and frankly, they play a lot of tough teams outside their division. The best date comes at week 9 against the Tennessee Titans. And I say that we don't really know what the Titans are going to be. I don't think they're going to be great, so that could be a tough spot for him because of the Titans' defense is formidable, then that's tough. But looking at it, it's just tough team after tough team after tough team. But that week 9 matchup against the Titans is really the soonest I could see him, getting a chance to, be a starter and maybe just get the full week of prep and play against that Titans team because their bye week, like I said, normally you would hope that's like maybe week 7 or week 8, and then you can reevaluate. Their bye week is all the way late in week 14. So a brutal time to have a bye week, especially for a team that wants probably to work in a rookie quarterback at some point. Heading into the bye week would be a perfect time, but 14 might be too late, or, you might as well just roll with Jacoby Brissett and just call this a redshirt year for him. But we'll see whether, like I said, week 9 would be the date that I'd look at if I was a Patriots fan is, hey, this might be his best chance to come in and not be bombarded, not be killed, but we won't know until then. Looking outside of Drake May, because I feel like that's where you have to look is Drake May. The rest of the team, I feel like, is a good mix of young players and veteran players, and especially on that defense. The defense could be really good day one, and that's where they have a benefit is where they were left in a good spot because, like I said, Bill Belichick knows defense, and he left them with good players. Christian Barmore, hopefully he gets healthy. It's a blood clot issue, but he just got paid for them in D tackle. Matthew Judon he's trying to fight for a contract, right now, but he's been terrific for them. Christian Gonzalez, who I loved in the draft last year, and I wanted the Falcons to draft. He was terrific his rookie year before he went down with a shoulder injury. So they got some talent there. And their offense, like I said, their offense is very young. Their offensive line is okay, but really it's those skill positions that people have been pointing out for so long that they need to upgrade. And, Kendrick Bourne is okay. They released Juju Smith-Schuster, and so that they lost him. But Kendrick Bourne's okay. They have some young guys like Jalen Polk. I feel like can step up for them and be a big target for the future. But they have some work to do on that offense. But hopefully Ramondre Stevenson-led attack. He's the lead back. I feel like he's been solid for them in the time he's been there. Hopefully that can hold them up enough until Drake May, like I said, grows into his own as a passer, and maybe he can elevate the receiving core, and maybe they make an investment with a trade or something. Like, they have to do something more for this receiving core, but as of right now, it's going to be like a grow with your young quarterback type of core, kind of like the Packers, where basically every wide receiver was a rookie or first year guy, second year guy, and you had Jordan Love, who was also learning on the fly and growing together. So maybe the Patriots have to take that approach to it, but regardless, Patriots, this is not your year, but be hopeful, be a little bit more hopeful than you normally are as a Boston sports fans who always want your team to win, but enjoy this development. I think you'll see a pleasant team. And speaking of teams that aren't pleasant, the Jets are not. The Jets are a very unpleasant organization, a team, a fan base, however you want to chop it. The New York Jets are a mess all the time. They just can't help themselves. And pressure makes diamonds, but the Jets have been a ball of clay for years now. And last year was supposed to be the big year, but 4 plays into the season, it's over. Because why? The New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers' Achilles blew out, and this year it's all on him again, and you got to hope that Achilles holds up. So this team, I would say, is the biggest if team in the NFL because, my God, it's an offense that's full and so full of guys that are just praying that they stay healthy. Aaron Rodgers, the leader of that, but you go to the running back with Breece Hall, who had a great year when he fully recovered from his ACL injury. You have Mike Williams, who is also recovering from season-ending injury. Garrett Wilson, steady Eddie, love him. He should be terrific for them. Then you look at their offensive line. Morgan Moses, who's an older tackle that's dealt with injuries. Tyron Smith, who is an older tackle who's dealt with injuries. Both great players, but they have dealt with injuries. So those 2 guys should be great and help out, Aaron Rodgers to keep him upright and whatnot, but you're really preying on those guys being healthy. And like I said, I love the trio of weapons they have, and Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, and Mike Williams. I'm a big fan of those 3 guys, but they have to stay healthy. And I think Breece Hall is the biggest X factor out of those 3 because, we know what Garrett Wilson is. We know how great he is. He's proved it with very, very subpar quarterback play. Mike Williams, like I said, he could be banged up at any moment, but when he plays, he's very good. Breece Hall really kind of unlocks this offense in every way because he is a threat with the ball receiving it. He's a threat with the ball running it. And I don't think he has that like breakaway speed that he once had because of the ACL injury. It was very apparent in like week 1, but maybe that year off that off season off where basically he wasn't rehabbing, maybe he gained that speed back. And so maybe you see him revitalized and a different energy, but he's going to be key if they want this team to have balance, because I feel like that's a big part of what you're banking on with this offense is the balance of having Aaron Rodgers who can pass the ball and Breece Hall who can be a dynamic threat with running the ball. So the Jets have the makings of a really good offense and a playoff caliber offense, but God, it's a big, big if. And they are the team that I was referencing to earlier where their defense, like I said, their defense is terrific. Their defense has a plethora of elite guys. Quinnen Williams inside, Sauce Gardner on the outside, CJ Mosley in the middle, Javon Kinlaw, who, kind of disappointing in San Francisco, but he finds his home back here with his former defensive coordinator. I think he was there when he was there. Either way, quality players, but the biggest factor requested a trade today, and that is Haason Reddick, who was just traded to the team this offseason. So one of, like I said, it's only the Jets. Only the Jets could have a player they trade for, come in, have a contract dispute, not really want to play, and then request a trade in the same offseason. He's never played a snap for the Jets, and here he is requesting a trade. And I get it. He does want to be paid. I mean, pay him something, maybe. I don't know. But the solution of trading for a guy that will probably never play a snap for you at this point and just, losing him as a pass rusher, it's only the Jets. And part of that reason is why I can't buy into this team as a playoff caliber team is because the Jets just get in their own way. It's not any other team beating the Jets but the Jets. They don't help it. But God, do they hurt it. I can't I can't tell you that this team is going to be a playoff team. I just cannot. But speaking of teams that I don't think are playoff teams, the Miami Dolphins. And I know that's going to be a crazy take because the Dolphins are a team that just made the playoffs. They have one of the most dynamic offenses out there. Tua Tagovailoa just got paid. Tyreek Hill just got paid. Jalen Waddle just got paid. But outside of that, what do you get? What are you getting with this team? And I get it because skill positions, they stand out to us. Tyreek Hill stands out to us with his frontline speed. Jalen Waddle the same way with running side by side with them. They're running backs, fantasy monsters. But when you look at how this offense performed last year, outside of that Broncos game where they scored 70 points, it was very, I wouldn't say uninspiring, but it was very middle of the road, very not what you saw their averages as. It's like I'm sorry I had to stop there, but could you hear that motorcycle just drive by? I don't know if anyone could hear that because I certainly did in my headphones because my God, Harley Davidsons, get out of here. Harley Davidsons are just the worst, most loud, obnoxious, garbage machine motorcycles that can be on the earth, on the road, either whatever you want to say, terrible machines. And they should never be allowed to make that much noise because my God, I think I'm going to have to listen back to see if you guys could hear it as well as I could. That was ridiculous. Back to the Dolphins. Speaking of loud things that shouldn't really, be allowed to do what they do. I don't even know what I'm calling that. The Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins, I don't think they're a playoff team because I was saying their offense was nothing really outside of their Broncos 70-point drubbing. They were very middle of the road. They couldn't beat great teams. And I think that's just what the MO of the Dolphins is until they find a different quarterback. Because Tua, although he's a starter in this league, he's a starter caliber quarterback, he's not a playoff, go on the road type of winning quarterback. They were never going to win that game in Kansas City in sub-zero weather. I wouldn't have, if they played that game 100 times, I don't think I would have picked the Dolphins one time. I don't think there's any scenario I picked the Dolphins to win a game where temperature is below freezing. It's just not a team that screams that to me. I don't think they have that type of energy in them. It's just not, it just doesn't do it for me. And like I said, the skill positions are fantastic, but then you also just look at that offensive line. The offensive line has been the issue. It's not been the, guys on the outside that have, done it. It's not been the guy throwing it all the time that's really been the issue. It's that offensive line that can't really do anything. I mean, the scheme helps out their run game a lot, but the actual offensive line talent is just not there, and I'm just not buying it. And then you go to the defense. They brought in Vic Fangio, who, terrific defensive coordinator. But I feel like when you look at his defenses, they've had talented players on those defenses of his. And I look at this, and I just don't see a defense that could step up to what he wants and what he needs, because it's really it's injury plagued guys or older guys as their main guy. Bradley Chubb, he's coming off multiple lower leg season ending injuries. Jalen Ramsey's not a young man, and it's just one of those teams where I just can't buy into it as many people are, because I feel like they're just an injury away from being a disaster. They're Tyreek Hill going down would be a disaster for that offense, because Jalen Waddle will be doubled. And then who do you throw to? I know Odell Beckham, who has also had his plethora of injuries over the years. Running backs go down here and there. Do you trust Devin Achane to really take that load on it? If Raheem Mostert goes down, do you trust Tua Tagovailoa to go on the road and win you a playoff game? Because that's really what it comes down to. Because Miami's home field advantage, if you think about Miami's home field, is it's because it's so hot, so humid during these early parts of the year. It's why the Bills always feel like go down there early in the season and trip up. Think about Miami in January. Miami in January is probably a wonderful place to go play if you're a team that wants to go win on the road. Even if they get a home field advantage for their playoff game, I'm not picking them unless it really is just Joe Schmo they're running into in the playoffs. In a neutral field game, I don't know if I'd pick the Dolphins over the Bills, the Ravens, The Chiefs, I don't know if I'd pick them over the Jets if they're healthy. I don't know if I'd pick them over the Chargers. It's just, I don't know what to do with this Dolphins team, and I just can't see them winning hard-nosed, tough football games in this current form. So maybe they make a trade and bring in a guy that can help out that spot, but not a believer in the Dolphins here. But we have to finish up with the division. We have to finish up with the AFC with a team that I think is the most volatile team in the NFL. And that is the Buffalo Bills. We just mentioned them. I would pick them to beat the Dolphins, but I don't feel great about it. I wouldn't be shocked if Buffalo missed the playoffs. I wouldn't be shocked if Buffalo made the Super Bowl. It is just a team that has so many new pieces on that offense. I think their biggest maybe addition by subtraction was losing Stephon Diggs to the Texans because, I think that had run its course. I think that last year they were rushing to get to the finish line to try and figure out how to get rid of Stephon Diggs. And it's not that it was the production, because the production was obviously great during his time there, and I feel like the relationships were there for a little bit, but the coach receiver dynamic was very apparent that they were butting heads in the offseason, and I think it just came to a head, and now we see where Stephon Diggs is in Houston, and the Bills are now going to have to put a patchwork wide receiving core together. And they have Keon Coleman. They drafted him. I think he could be good, but rookie receiver being your best guy is very scary because they also lost Gabe Davis to the Jaguars. So very sketchy offense because you have two tight ends that are really probably going to be your wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3. And I like Dalton Kincaid. I like Dawson Knox, but having those guys be your basically 2 probably best receivers on the roster right now is terrifying. And I like James Cook and I like Josh Allen a lot, but you're really going to bank on those 2 carrying the load here. And what happens if one of them goes down? And that's where I just get scared with this team. But, they've been healthy for the most part, knock on wood, but the offensive uncertainty is certainly there. But I wouldn't even say the offense is the biggest concern. The defense is terrifying because they were bad last year because of all the injuries. They lost players not to injury now, but just to free agency. Jordan Poyer is in Miami now, who I didn't mention, but he's gone. And right now, Damar Hamlin is penciled in as a starter on their depth chart. And he died. The man died on the field a year and a half ago. And he's your starting safety. And I'm not going to name the name who gave me this information when that whole night happened. But 20 minutes before Damar Hamlin died on the field, not just, was playing bad, got hurt, ACL injury. He died on the field. The guy, a Bills fan that I know, told me 20 minutes before Damar Hamlin is the worst free safety in the NFL. And now you're trusting the guy who died on the field to be your starter, who could very well, if you took out the fact that he died, it could be the worst safety in the league. I'm sorry, but Buffalo, you're killing me. I love the Josh Allen experience. I think it's great, but you can't put this defense together on the field and hope that it just kind of prayer hands, that this secondary works out, because it's scary. It's a scary secondary. Trusting, you're basically putting all your faith in Ed Oliver, Von Miller, Matt Milano to carry this unit, which they haven't been, the issue. It's been those secondary guys who've gotten hurt so much, and now you're plugging in the guy who died. So, like I said, it's great. It's a great story that he's back. It's wonderful, all that. But we have to, think about what happened to him. And really, they ran a fake punt with him in the playoffs on a 4th and 10. And they were close to getting the 4th down. I think Sean McDermott's a dead man walking. I think that is the most lame duck coach, I think, in the NFL, who has had a good amount of success, has made Buffalo into a respectable team, but I cannot imagine if they don't make the Super Bowl. I can't imagine he'll be back as head coach. It has to take a miracle for him to stay on. But Weirdly enough, I do think the Bills would be my pick if I had to pick a division winner, just because of Josh Allen, just because I trust the quarterback. And that's weird to say with a guy who was so horrendous at the beginning of last year, but he picked it up and was terrific down the stretch. I'm picking that guy and the Bills to win this division somehow. Man, I just went through that whole division and I'm like losing my mind just thinking about every single team and the issues that they have. I've gone 25 minutes, and I don't think I've gone 25 minutes with a division yet. So they have me in hell here. We're gonna get to the NFC tomorrow, and maybe down the road I'll show you my like entire AFC playoff picture. But I think you can maybe infer some teams here and there from just how I talked about them. But whew. Team USA won the gold. They beat France. That was cool. That was cool. I never really was a doubt for me. Steph Curry was unbelievable. I think you could say Steph Curry won them the gold medal with his performance over the last 2 games. And overall MVP, you'd probably give to LeBron or Kevin Durant. But for those last 2 games that mattered the most, Steph Curry took them over in both of them and won both of them single-handedly. So unbelievable from him. Unbelievable performance. Just, whew. I can't even remember the other teas I gave. That's the AFC East just kind of whooped my butt there, just talking about them. But shout out Team USA. Shout out the Olympics. Good Olympics, I'd say. I don't know. Weird imaging here and there, weird controversies here and there, but overall, product-wise, I'd say it was pretty good Olympics. And we'll see it in Los Angeles with some cool sports. Lacrosse, cricket, baseball's in the equation, softball. I'm going to be super curious about softball because, frankly, this feels like a women's basketball situation where the USA should just be the best at it, but I don't know. I don't know softball across the globe. I apologize, but I'll be interested to see how that goes. I feel like that'll be fun, but we'll see how LA handles it because I think France did a pretty dang good job. So, with all that being said, I think I need some water. I need a breather. I'm going to find myself a chair to relax in, and I will enjoy the rest of my night as you should with your night. And we will be back tomorrow. I don't know what division we're going to do yet in the NFC, but we'll be back with that. We'll touch on that and go through that division. Maybe we'll start off with the North, since we did talk about the Bears a couple weeks ago. We'll get on that. And it was rookie quarterbacks. That was the other one. Remind me tomorrow, rookie quarterbacks will be the topic after the division preview if I don't lose my mind talking about the Lions and Vikings. But regardless, I am your host, Lucas Kochevar, as always. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to the show on the podcast feed, Apple, Spotify, Google Music, wherever you listen to podcasts, the YouTube channel, at Coach's Corner on YouTube. Make sure you do all that good stuff, like, subscribe, share. I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.